All right, so I'm going to be totally honest. This may be a bit bizarre when you first hear it, but you really can sing better if you think more about crying as opposed to singing.
Run, run, lost boy, they say to me.
Now, there are a number of reasons for this, and let's go through a few of them. Number one, learning how to sing is a lot about learning how to undo bad habits that we've developed in our lives. And so when we go about singing a song, we often do the exact same things that we've always done. And we're not going to get something brand new when we try the same thing we've always done. Thinking about singing like crying is enough of a paradigm shift that it might shake things up and make it easier for you to be able to sing. Also, when we think about crying, we're not so particular about the way it sounds. We have a lot more freedom to be less than perfect. Whereas when we're singing, we think of a specific sort of approach that we want to get from our voice, and we try to force that out of our voice. If you try to play around with your voice and experiment with it, you can really notice some massive changes quite quickly. Another thing is that singing is basically just crying on pitch. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean that when you're singing, you're using your vocal cords and approximating them as you're blowing air through them. So when we're crying and kind of doing a crying sound, we're doing basically the exact same thing, and it allows us to get more approximation of the vocal cords, which allows for better chord closure and better vocal cord compression. So if you can learn to cry on every note in your range, you're going to notice that it's going to become much easier to sing a lot of the notes that were once very difficult. Let's give you an example of what I'm talking about. So we start down at my bottom of my range and I go, oh, oh, I'm just crying on that note. Listen to the difference. And this is where most people get confused when it comes to singing. They'll sing, ah, ah, or they'll go, ah. Maybe not down that low, but as they go higher, ah, I hear that all the time. Now that has no cry underneath it. So there's no approximation of the vocal cords. The vocal cords aren't being brought together. So what we want to do instead of ah, with the vocal cords being blown wide open, we go with a little bit of a cry. Ah, ah, ah. Now, if we can cry on every one of those notes, we're going to get a very, very solid feel to the voice. The voice will feel like it's kind of sealed up and it's able to continue without any break in it. If you want to sing with more confidence and power, then you have to sign up for my lesson subscription. You get 2 group lessons with me personally every single week. You get access to all my courses, and you get access to recordings of all my one-on-one lessons with my students. That will help you learn vicariously through them. Click the link down below to sign up now. So if we do that on a couple of different notes, let's play around with the notes in our voice. You can follow along with me. You don't need to match my pitch per se, but match the way that I'm approaching each one of these notes. Oh, oh, oh. That's there. Oh, 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 oh. Oh. Now the key is 2 things. One is I don't let it go breathy. So I don't let it go, ah, ah. That's the opposite of the cry. The cry is the, oh. There's very little air flowing through there. The other thing that I watch out for is going, ah, ah. We don't want that. What that is a rising of the larynx. And as we go up higher, the tendency of the larynx is to go up higher in our throat. So what we want to do is add just a little bit of this dopey cry. And that's kind of built into the cry if you're imitating it the way that I'm doing it. But some people get this wrong. So it's possible that you're not doing it quite correct. So I want to make sure that I nip that in the bud before you even start. So we want to make sure that it's, oh, oh. You can hear that darker quality, not, ah, ah, not that. Very, very different approach. Oh, 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 oh. And you might notice that there's a certain moment where my vocal cords come together and you can actually hear it right when they're coming together. Oh, 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 oh. We want to really cry on these. Don't think of singing them. Oh, 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 oh. And there's going to be a certain press that you're feeling and a certain pressure that's built up. It's a good type of pressure. There's two types of pressure. One that is coming from the exterior muscles of the neck. So if you notice these muscles kicking in, this muscle right here, this muscle right here, or any of the other muscles over here, those are the ones that we generally want to keep off and let them chill out. But here we're getting squeezed just from the vocal cords inside. We're getting a arytenoid squeeze. That is the type of squeeze that we want to go for. That's the beginning of the cry that really helps to build this into your muscle memory and get it to happen more easily. Now let's bring it down scale. Now you may be asking yourselves, that's great, we're able to do that and I could follow along with you and I was going up really quietly, but there's no intensity to that. It's very, very quiet, it's very soft, it doesn't have any power, it doesn't have any fullness to it. Now, that's true, but what we're starting with, that initial squeeze, that initial cry can then be taken louder. So if I take one of those higher notes, if we go, that's the beginning note that I'm starting with. I can get louder with that without getting a lot of strain because I'm starting with that initial vocal cord squeeze with the arytenoids, not the exterior muscles. And so because I've got that internal muscular squeeze, those muscles will strengthen over time and will be able to get louder and louder. And so that's how you develop power. That's how you develop fullness, is by starting with that initial very, very small place of squeeze between your vocal cords and then building on that. For now, you may only be able to go, maybe you can only get that loud, or maybe not even that. You can go, you can get that loud. Whatever you're able to do, and on different pitches, it's going to be different. So if you're going a little bit lower, maybe you can get that loud there. Maybe you can get that loud over there. It's all about feeling out where your voice feels comfortable and what notes are starting to feel strangled as you're getting louder. So you may want to stick at this quietest place for a little bit longer to really feel out the full benefit of that over time and building that muscle memory into your natural approach to singing. Now, one of the questions that I get asked most frequently is, does all singing have this cry element to it? And the answer is no. There's one exception to this rule, and that is falsetto. Falsetto is that quality of head voice that is airy. So it's that that sort of falsetto doesn't have this squeeze to it. It's much more open, it's much more airy, and we want it to be that. So we don't want to try to squeeze or get a cry in your falsetto because then it will become head voice and it won't be the intended quality that we want. So the answer to the question is yes, but. Yes, we often sing 99% of the time with this cry element behind it, but there's always the exception of falsetto. And so you'll see this kind of quality in a lot of different songs out there. 'Cause if you like that type of quality to the singing, being very airy and letting a lot of that air flow through it without the cry quality. So I hope this helps. Please let me know in the comments down below if you have any questions. And if you found this video helpful, please hit the like button. And if you want to see more videos like this, check out that one right there. You're going to like it.